I don't think there's been any point in my marriage where my wife has discouraged me from doing my own thing. When it comes to my motorcycle riding, I think she's just happy to have me out of the house every once in a while. I get the same question over and over. How can I convince my wife, husband, significant other, pet, whatever, that it's okay for me to buy and ride a motorcycle? Well, I can tell you one thing. It's probably easier to convince your spouse than it is your dog. You ever see how they look at you when you go and grab your keys? It's pathetic. I'm talking about the dog. Anyway, I'm lucky that my wife both wants me out of the house and also supports my riding. Not to the point where she'd get on the back and be my pillion. Trust only goes so far. But in every other way, my wife supports my need to ride, encourages it, and rarely protests when the FedEx truck shows up with another helmet. They say a happy wife is a happy life, and all misogyny aside, that phrase climbs up my last nerve. I had to look the phrase up, and Google's overview says the following. A happy wife is a happy life is a saying that suggests a wife's happiness leads to a happier life for everyone in the relationship. However, some studies and other sources say that this idea is outdated and inaccurate. Yeah, no shit. It shouldn't be our goal to make our partners happy for the mere sake that they'll just go along with whatever it is we want to do. The goal, and I hope I'm not getting too technical in my psychological terminology here, the goal is to come to a mutual understanding. See, the hard reality is that each person in a relationship has their own life in addition to the one they share with their partner. Or at least that's the way it should be. Gone are the days when one person is the breadwinner while the other one makes sandwiches. Good riddance. I hope I'm not putting off any of my family values type viewers here by saying that, in a modern world, each person in a relationship is responsible for their own happiness, while at the same time mutually creating a happy space in which to live together. I also get questions from younger folks asking how they can convince their parents to let them ride a motorcycle. And here's where I have to say, thank God I don't have kids. Just kidding. But the answer to that question is quite different from the how do I convince my spouse question. If you're living under your parents' roof, forget about the motorcycle for now. They don't need the worry and you don't need a motorcycle yet. You've got plenty of time to make poor choices. Go study for your SATs or something. But when it comes to our life partners, the task shouldn't be to convince, but rather, it should be to be very open and honest and understand why it is you want to ride before you go and try to convince your spouse that it's a good idea. Once you know your reasons, it should be easy to explain your needs and work on coming to a place where you're both at peace with your choices. If this doesn't feel like something you can do with your spouse, then I gently suggest that there's issues far deeper than whether or not you should get a motorcycle. But hey, I'm not a marriage counselor. I'm just some dude on YouTube that managed to make it through almost 30 years of marriage without a single argument. And if you believe that, well, subscribe to my channel for more marriage tips. If I were just starting out and my wife was nervous about me riding a motorcycle and told me not to, I'd just do it anyway. And while I'm joking, I know a lot of folks actually think that way. I've never had to convince my wife to quote-unquote let me ride a motorcycle because we're both adults and capable of making our own decisions. That said, one of the reasons my wife is cool with me riding is because she can clearly see how happy it makes me. I'm sure that sometimes when I leave the house, her Catholic upbringing kicks in and an occasional Our Father or Hail Mary slips out. Shit happens and I can't begrudge her for that. I'd worry too if she were out tearing up the city on her little scrambler. I'd be proud as hell, but I'd be a little worried too. The point is, if you really do in fact need to persuade your partner that it's okay for you to ride a motorcycle, try this. Be perfectly honest about why it is you want a motorcycle. It may seem trivial to others when we say we want to ride, but the truth is, becoming a motorcyclist is so much more than just buzzing down the road on two wheels. Motorcycling gives us a sense of freedom, a sense of vitality that might otherwise be difficult to feel in your normal day-to-day. It's for that reason we feel refreshed and happier when we get back from a ride. If you think this is something that only you'll feel after riding, I can almost guarantee you your partner will appreciate a more refreshed and happy you. That's what makes riding such a win-win when it comes to relationships. Unless you're the type who uses motorcycling to whip yourself up into some testosterone-fueled frenzy fed by speed and knee dragging, chances are you come home from a ride both happy to have made it back safely and clear-minded enough to be present. What spouse wouldn't love their mate to chill the hell out now and then, be a kinder, more responsive partner? I can't tell you for sure that riding will do this for you, but it's done it for me and countless others. And while this might sound like a total load of BS to the person you're trying to convince, it's a point that needs to be made because your happiness and its ability to shape the overall happiness of your home are important. Studies show that 2 of the top causes of divorce in the United States, and probably elsewhere, are communication problems and lack of commitment. It's not hard to understand how a marriage where one person is miserable and the other is stubborn has a decent chance of going south. But I believe if one person can find happiness, be it in riding or sports or whatever, it makes both people better. I know from experience that my happiness has a tendency to rub off on my partner, as well as the rest of my family, my colleagues, and hopefully you, the folks who watch my drivel. If you can demonstrate to your partner, either with words or better, with actions, how a happier you makes for a happier we, taking the next step should be much easier. There's a big difference between manipulation and compromising. Manipulation is you saying, if you let me ride, I'll buy you a dog, or let me ride and I'll stop being such an ass. In case it isn't clear, manipulation is not the goal here. Compromise and understanding is, or are, whatever. So, what are some things you can do to compromise while at the same time getting what you want and giving something back of value to your partner? First and foremost, you can promise to do everything within your power to be safe. I say within your power because there are things that'll be out of your control. You know this, and your spouse knows this. The roads are filled with Instagramming teenagers using their phones while driving to become the next big influencer, like me. But beyond that, there's plenty of things you can do to improve your odds, and doing these things will hopefully put your partner's mind at ease. For example, you can explain to your partner what ADGAT means. It means all the gear all the time. It's a promise you won't even go grab a pack of smokes without your full gear on. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration here in the US says most car accidents happen within 5 miles of a driver's home. I assume this translates to motorcycle riders too. Promise your spouse you'll take all necessary precautions when you're riding and follow that promise up with action. If you're new to riding, involve your partner in your training. There's plenty of videos and such that'll teach you how to be a better motorcyclist. Watch these videos with your partner so he or she gets a better idea of the things you're learning about being safe. Have conversations about the things you know and prove to them that you are, indeed, well-versed in motorcycle safety. I've found that this is a great way to diffuse the inevitable scoldings I get during family events. When someone comes at you with the whole, "Oh, I hate thinking about you on a motorcycle," don't just blow it off. Let them know that you know the risks and also know the best ways to mitigate those risks. Just showing that you worry about such things can have a dramatic effect on how much other people worry about you. But all the technical talk and promises to be safe pale in comparison to just being completely upfront and honest about how much you need riding in your life. And if you're anything like me, you really do need riding in your life. So tell your partner that riding isn't just some hobby that you'll treat as a casual pastime. Instead, it's part of who you are, and it's a thing that, in the end, is good for both of you. And if that doesn't work, just do it anyway. I'm kidding, I think. Life is full of risks, and riding a motorcycle is certainly more dangerous than, say, knitting. But knitting doesn't provide the same thrills and challenges as riding, at least not the way I knit. I've tried dozens of ways to improve my life and feel alive, but none has had such a profound impact on me as motorcycle riding. That's why my wife accepts it and even encourages it. I'm confident that if you lay it out there in the most honest terms with a true commitment to being a good and safe rider, your partner will come around. Unless you have children, in which case, good luck convincing anyone you should be on a motorcycle.